The Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet. Hey everyone, welcome to the Art and Industry of Business and Living. So you're with Simone, Milasas, your host, and Miss Emily Russell. Welcome.
Hi. I was just saying I'm so glad we get to do this in person again because
Yes.
It's so fun to actually just sit and talk.
It is. I like it. And we will take a photo of where we are because we're actually at Castle Borgogni in Italy, which is friggin' stunning. We've been here for the opening and it made me happy. So, which is good because, you know what, the month of March we are talking about happiness. So this is the last show for this month. But you know what? You're allowed to be happy every month and every day. It's your choice. So Emily's sort of going to interview me a little bit here too, because one of the things that we were looking at is, you know, with relationship, and it's like, does relationship make you happy? And, you know, have you decided that if you have a relationship that then you have to be happy that you have it right? Or, you know, you can choose to be, you know, single, etc., or even breaking up in a relationship and how that is. And it's like that you can still choose happiness. You don't have to choose pathetic. You don't have to choose trauma and drama. And so, yeah, let's just play with this and see. Let's talk. Let's chat.
Because you've recently, ended a 7-8 year relationship.
Yes. So I was in a relationship with Brendon Watt for 8 years. And interesting enough, I keep going to say 7.5 years because we did some videos today for our vlog on no sugarcoating, leading into the relationship, done different classes. And, you know, if I'm going to be totally honest, it's like 7.5 years. We had a great relationship. It's like we had a lot of fun. We created a lot together. We were always an inspiration to each other. It was, a level of enthusiasm and change. Like we never went, oh, okay, this is it. You know, we have it right where it has to look a certain way. And I'm going to say 7.5 years in, one of the things that we did do was we bought a block of land and we, went to architects, etc. It's on the beach and we were creating this epic house, like friggin' amazing house. And at that moment is sort of when we started to create the maintenance of our relationship and the longevity of it, not from choice, from a necessity. It's almost like we brought the rocking chairs,
Yeah.
We didn't, literally. But that's sort of had the energy of that we brought the rocking chairs rather than in a constant state of creation. So in truth, 6 months prior to the relationship actually ending, it became maintenance, not creationship.
And when you and Brendon were filming videos this morning, because I was there, and you both talked about that, and you said, well, we kind of just became normal. Do you have any awareness of what that is? Because I think a lot of people, they might be there, a couple months in, or just think that is what a relationship is. It's just kind of that maintenance. We hang out. I'm supposed to be happy because we're together. And they stick with things for a really long time like that.
Yeah. One of the things I would say is that so many people think that when they're in a relationship, they've finally got it right, because this reality constantly projects at you that if you are in a relationship, you're right. If you're not in a relationship, that you're wrong. There must be something wrong with you. I mean, if you look at history, it's like, you'd be 22, 23, and if you weren't married with kids, you were an old maid, and it was sort of like you were whispered about, it's like, oh my goodness, no one wanted her. So it's like, how many times do we choose a relationship so that you can, destroy the place where, no one wants you, so that it validates you. I mean, listen to all the songs. It's like amazing how much it's about choosing a relationship so that somebody else can validate you. So I think when Brendon did say, we started to do normal, is we started to do relationship not from question. We started to do relationship from this is what it is. So, it's like, what's the next step? Because we still, live a very unusual lifestyle. Like it's not like we're, have 9 to 5, Monday to Friday jobs and we're home every weekend. We travel over the world. It's like, and we put, our son in boarding school. There was like all these different aspects that make it different, and yet we're still creating it as normal. And one tool I would say is you've got to remain in question. And you've also got to remain in question and look at, are you in the computation of the relationship? because so many people make it about the other person rather than actually making it about you too. It's like, does this work for you?
And can you say more about that? Because there is a part of relationship, I mean, I've heard you talk with Brendon, that where you do make something about the other person when you're grateful, but that part, can you say more about it's including you in the computation and what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I remember at one stage, which is interesting, I'm sitting in Italy doing this podcast, because at one stage, probably like, I think 6 years into our relationship, I just had this urge to go and live in Europe. And Italy was probably one of the countries I did. So I indulged in it in the place of not going, oh, well, I can't do that because I'm in a relationship and we have a son here and we have a house here and we have blah, blah, blah. So you find all the reasons and justifications for not choosing something. Whereas I literally sat down with Brendon and went, hey, I think I would like to go live in Europe for 6 months, you know, or do something like that. And he didn't have to come. Like, it wasn't like we all have to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and do it together. I remember he looked at me and he laughed and he went, will you still help out with the mortgage? And I was like, yeah, of course. But I literally indulged in it and was like, okay, so what if I did go live in Europe? You know, what would that be like? Like, you know, Nash and Brendon could come over, whatever. It's like, you don't work it out before you choose it. You choose it because you're not trying to get it right. So I did indulge in it. And it's interesting because I didn't not do it. I just haven't done it yet. And I'm actually looking at that at the moment. I think I've been home 6 days since the 30th of December. So it's like I am looking at what if I did have a place in Europe somewhere, maybe an island or something like that. So, you know, I'm exploring that. But the fact that you can actually explore something like that and not hold yourself back based on someone else. Now, there's another side to this because I see people do that, you know, that thing of going, well, I'm choosing for me. Yeah. And it's got this like choosing against, like
a teenager.
Know, yeah. And it's like, no, it's like I totally included Brendon when I was looking at Europe. I wasn't excluding him. I might not have seen him for 6 months, but I wasn't excluding him. It was like, I think I need to go do this. So what if you decided, you know, that you cannot choose based on that you're in a relationship? If you function from that place, you will end up killing the relationship. So everything at that is times a God and we destroy and uncreate it. Right, and on good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Well, one of the other things you said too were you've got to function from question. If you're going to, you know, continue in this creationship mode, what are some of the questions, like if someone is listening in a relationship, that you can ask to stay in that creative energy? Or if they feel stuck in kind of the maintenance, are there things you can ask to change it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different questions you can ask, and I would even just start with some basic ones of, you know, truth. And when you say truth, it's like a universal law that you'll know if you're telling the truth or not, and ask truth. Is this relationship still working for me? It's like, you know, and if you get a no, then have a look at that and go, okay, so what would have to change for this to work for me? And it's not about building up a list and going to the other person and saying, this is the things I've decided you have to change if we're going to remain in relationship. It's like, so for me, you know, being in a relationship is very much the other person is a requirement for them to be an allowance of the amount I travel. And it's like all the amount of, you know, socializing and dealing with other people. Like, I am so grateful. One thing Brendon never, ever did was, who are you talking to? Or, you know, check my phone, or, you know, be like, you spend too much time with somebody else, or whatever. It's like, because our jobs are about engaging with people from all over the world, all walks of life, thousands of people, and, you know, being in a relationship is the allowance that someone is totally fine with that. It's like, great, go have fun. So being in question, is this working for me? And then have a look if something has to change. I mean, at one stage, early on in our relationship, Brendon hated doing what he was doing. He was a tradesman and he hated it. So I said to him, look, why don't you take a break from it and find out what it is that you desire to do? And I said, you know, he was living in my house. So I was like, you don't have to pay rent. You know, I've got that handled, etc. So I ended up pretty much supporting him and Nash for like 18 months without him earning such little money. And he got to discover what it is that he wanted to choose. But there was moments where he would like lie on the couch and watch TV and drink beer, and I'd wake up. I'm so creative in the morning, and I'd wake up
from the beginning.
Yeah, and I'd be like, you know. And I remember he said to me one day, "Will you stop being so happy?" And I was like, looked at him and I went, "No." And then a couple of hours later, he said to me, do you know how hard it is to be unhappy and depressed when you live with someone who's happy? And I went, well, if that's your biggest problem, and he started laughing and I started laughing because it was like, all right. So, but I didn't have a point of view. I wasn't saying, Brendon, you have to get off the couch. You have to, stop lying there and being miserable. Yeah. That's a choice. You can make that choice. So I think being in question too is, what's working for this person. It's like, and allowing them to be what they're choosing.
And that level of allowance is such a different form of caring than in this reality. I mean, most people, if you have a partner who's unhappy, we go to, oh, what's wrong? I'll be unhappy with you.
I know. Yeah, and it's like align and agree with the other person. Yeah. That's going to make it better. No, it doesn't. It creates more solidity. It creates the solidity of the trauma and drama and the judgment and the limitations and the conclusions that you've come to about you, about them, and about relationship, rather than actually being in total allowance. So everything at that is times it does Z, and we destroy and uncreate it. If that sounds like you, all right, and on good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And if this is your first time listening, the clearing statement I'm using is from Access Consciousness, and you can go to theclearingstatement.com, and the wonderful Dr. Dane here will explain it all to you. But you know what? This stuff just works. So for me anyway.
Well, and one of the things you've just been phenomenal with lately is, okay, so now this relationship is over, and your level of happiness and vulnerability and presence is greater than I've ever seen it. You have a glow and a different way about you, and that is so different than going into what you're like the trauma and drama of, oh, we now broke up, I'm supposed to be unhappy, or I'm supposed to start searching for a new relationship, whatever people do in this reality. And you want to talk about the choice of that, or what?
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, Brendon broke the relationship up with me, and I pretended I was shocked, and then when I looked at it, I really wasn't. So, and I also enjoyed our relationship, and it was done. So but I can still enjoy him. Like, there's a different way to still enjoy him. So, I went through lots of. You've got to allow yourself to do what you do. Like, I mean, I cried for days,
yeah.
And then went, all right, crying's not really getting me anywhere. It's a bit boring. And then also there's, I mean, let's talk about everything, because there's also added to that as well. I found out we broke up probably like 6 months ago, and I found out for the last 5.5 months that he was sleeping with a friend of mine. Now that's fine as far as well, it's not fine, but it's fine as far as I get that people meet other people, and you fall in love with somebody else, you want to play with somebody else. I actually get that, and I can see how that works. And the thing that was not cool about that for me was that they both lied so much. So they lied so much about what was occurring, because I knew. Yeah. And I asked, and they kept saying no. And so finally they both said, look, this has been occurring. So I was like, okay, what do you need from me? And then said, I will create with you, but at the moment you don't get to be my friend. And I got super angry. And I allowed myself also to get angry, because I wasn't trying to do this from the right point of view. It's like, okay, I'm pissed at the moment. Like, my molecules were just like shaking, And I think that lasted for me an eternity, but it was like 3 or 4 days or 4 or 5 days or something like that. And then I woke up and just finally went, you know what? I'm bored. I'm so bored with being angry. I would rather create, and I'd rather be happy. And not fake happiness, like putting the smile on, going, yay, everything's okay.
Right.
Which I think was really cool, that I allowed myself to be angry, because it was like, no, I'm fucking pissed right now. And it's like, this is, not cool.
Yeah.
And then just going, what is it that I truly desire to create in the world? I desire more consciousness. I desire more joy and more possibilities beyond this reality. And that is so much about this reality. And Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, said to me, I want to thank you for not choosing pathetic. He goes, I can't stand pathetic women. And he goes, and no woman is pathetic. They just pretend to be. And he's like, but thank you for not being pathetic. I'm like, you're welcome. I mean, it's like, Brendon and I have a vlog together, vlog, called No Sugarcoating, about relationship done different. So you can check that out as well. I think it's just being released, either just as this podcast is coming out, or maybe just afterwards. So, check that out. And we've got the Relationship Done Different classes as well, which I have one in April in Noosa, Australia, and you can jump on that. It's live stream.
Live streams.
Yes. So you don't have to be in Noosa, Australia, but you could be because it's freaking beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then there's an intro night the first night. So if you can find out just about that as well. But we'll have the links here too. And I'm going to talk about anything and everything because Relationship Done Different is not about getting it right. It's not about, the maintenance. It's not about being normal. It's about creating something different. So right here now, it's like, we had a great relationship. It broke up, and then you find out that, he's been sleeping with one of your friends. and then it's like, I want to kill. And indulge in the killing. Don't actually kill. Indulge in the killing. And then what else is possible? And I'm right now in the what else is possible beyond this reality. And it's interesting because we've been at the castle, and Brendon, he just left an hour or so ago. He looked at me and he hugged me and he said, I am so grateful for you. He said, I'm not sure I know of anyone else who would be like your being. And he said to me, don't forget, you can trust me. You can trust that I will cheat and I will lie and I will use people and I will do this. But he's saying this. And I said, we need to come up with an acronym for you because it's making him laugh and it's making me laugh because there's no more lies anymore. And that, I think, Emily, is one of the main things too, because I actually have the sense of creation with him and with so many other people a lot more now too, because there are no lies.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary and Dane always say, today's secret is tomorrow's lie. It's like, so what if there were no lies? And this is not about you going around telling everyone your truth. That sort of can be, that's a whole different story, a whole different podcast. It's like, what if there were no lies and you could create a totally different possibility from having everything available? Everything. All molecules of consciousness is available for you to create something far greater than what you've decided you can have.
And
let's
so
give
different.
up normal.
And so different.
Yeah.
Like all of this is such a different. That's why thank you so much for talking. I'm so grateful because it's just such a different way of talking about it, of all of this that's happened, it's created, and to be like, here I am with all of it and willing to talk about it and not doing the trauma drama and the normal.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's good copy for a second book. is what our PR agent said. So, and if you don't have our first book, it's brilliant. Like if you actually desire to create a good relationship, there's so many tools in it. It's called Relationship. Are you sure you want one? And you can go to the website of that, literally, relationship.areyoussureyouwantone.com, and you can get, I think it's a free download of me reading one of the chapters, and there's a bunch of really cool, funny videos too, because we've tried to put the humour in relationship rather than the normal serious in relationship. So it's a totally different reality.
You can read it in one sitting. I did.
Yes, you can. It's a good, I don't know, LA to New York flight.
Exactly.
And that Relationship Done Different, the beginning class, is actually going to be on the 18th of April. That's Australia time. And then the 3-day class is the 19th to the 21st. So, and I'm not sure if it's going to be just me doing it or me and Brendon. It's interesting. We looked at it and said, I said, I don't know if I can co-facilitate with you at the moment, which is a choice because it's got to be about choice. I think I'll do this class on my own. And then just in the last couple of days, I went, you know what? What if we actually did it together? Is it going to create something greater? And I get more of a yes now.
Yeah.
Should we just do that?
Yes.
And we'll announce it here on the podcast.
Yes, I get a yes.
And I'll text Brendon because he's on his way to Munich. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go back to doing that class together. Relationship Done Different. Wow, that feels...
Yep.
Well, that feels awesome. It feels like the energy of what I really, truly desire to get out there because it's got to be a contribution, what we create on the planet. And you know what? I would also recommend a book called The Place by Gary Douglas because you can get that on Amazon or accessconsciousness.com as well. The way Gary talks about how you can be in communion with the planet, with other people, in relationship, with animals, all of it, that's what I would like to create on planet Earth, no matter what it takes, no matter what it looks like. It's like no more choosing, less than. And no more looking for the value of you through somebody else's eyes or in a relationship, or trying to get it right whilst always thinking that you're wrong. It's like enough. It's like, what if there was just choice?
And that book, you can get it on Audible too, and it's Gary who reads it.
Yes.
And it is the most phenomenal book, and every time I hear something different every time. And it is when we talk about oneness with the universe. That is the energy of that book, and not the two-ness of the relationship of this reality.
Yeah, that's a good question actually. When you were asking before, because there's so many new tools coming out about relationship. You're welcome. I'm opening doors definitely, and so is Brendon, and so many other people, and a lot of people are walking through those doors and discovering that this can actually be a lot different. Yeah. Sometimes quite confronting, and it also can be a lot different. And actually, Dana and I were talking about writing a new book called Consciousness. Are you sure you want it? Because the amount of things that you go through that you're like, really? You know what? I could just choose to be unaware here. But that's not what I'm asking for. And I would ask, is that what you're asking for? So come to the Relationship Done Different class. Choose happiness, no matter what you're choosing. Whether you're in a relationship, if you're going to do it, make it great. It's like, don't choose relationship because you've decided that makes you right. It's like, there is no right in relationship. It's about relationship done different. And nobody else gets to make you happy. You get to wake up in the morning and choose if you're going to be happy. Happiness is just a choice.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Also check out that website, happinessisjustachoice.com. We've got some cool merchandise on there, which, is a huge invitation. So if you like this podcast, please share it with your friends, rate it on iTunes, do all that sort of stuff. And we will be talking to you next week. I actually have 4 lovely, amazing gentlemen on, and they're going to be doing some classes on Return of the Gentleman, and I interviewed them prior to this, so they'll be on next week, and please don't miss it, because these are 4 fabulous men. I nearly started crying in the first 5 minutes when they started talking. It was like, really? Oh my God, you guys are so awesome. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I adore you, and
thank you, Simone.
Choose happiness. Thank you, Emily. Bye-bye.